I'm all for citizen journalists, First Amendment. I want to promote all that. The issue becomes what happens when a citizen journalist is paid off record, or
like not advertising.
And to set a narrative, right?
Yeah.
And so that's where I have an issue. I think any payments whatsoever to a citizen journalist should be subject to campaign finance reports. It's the last thing any council member wants to do, is to be asked to raise any type of rate. That is like, it's politically, it's not popular, never, so, but when you have critical capital projects that need to get done, you have to choose, am I going to vote against it so that I can be more popular in my community, or am I going to vote for something that's critically needed because I know it is needed? So for me, it would have been so much it would have been easy to vote against this. There's a balance of, because we can all showboat, we can all spike footballs for the public, and that can feel good, when the public's on your side. Okay, but if you've by doing that, you're negatively hurting your colleagues up there. Well, you need 5 votes to get something done.
Yeah.
So there's a balance. There's a balance of getting things done for your people that voted you in, while also working well with your colleagues. Now, if we have a disagreement, fine. Let's disagree, but let's do it respectfully.
Welcome to another episode of Frontera Radio. I'm your host, Sergio Mora, and I have a really great guest lined up for you today. None other than Council Member Tyler King.
Hey, Sergio.
Hey, Tyler, how are you, man?
Good. Thanks for having me back.
Good. Thanks for coming back, dude. Yeah. We haven't spoken in a while, and you are now in the home stretch of your first term, and you will be announcing that you are running for reelection for city council, man.
Yeah, so probably by the time most people hear this podcast and this is published, I'll probably have already announced. But yeah, looking for Thursday, July 23rd, 11 a.m. at 550 Pizzeria, where we'll do the campaign announcement. But yeah, so it's, and I've just felt like doing the work is generally, what I'm hoping speaks for itself. Yeah. This 4-month campaign season that's kind of coming up. I know it's going to be intense, but I think people have seen me out there working. The idea that I'm just now out there. If you go back through my 4 years through my Facebook page, and you'll see that I've been out there, trying my best. I'm one of 9 up there, as you know, so I can't snap my fingers and make everything happen that I'd like to happen. But I think, I'm hoping the people will consider me for a second term.
Yeah, no, I obviously keep track of the work that you guys do, and you're always really, you, in my opinion, go above and beyond, in that you will write a long social media post about like a curb or something like the water problems.
Yeah, I try to be out there for the good and the bad, right? I want to highlight the work we're doing, but when things aren't going well, I also want to let people know the bad things. Like, I moved here in 2020. I ran for council in 2022, 2 years later. So I've lived in Laredo for 6 years. And we all know that a lot of Laredo's problems go back decades. So the idea that, one council member is going to completely fix all of Laredo's problems is just unrealistic. But I feel little by little, I've been able to make a positive impact, hoping, the people agree. And I do think there are good things happening in the city. I think there's definitely roadblocks that are unnecessary at times, but I think keep doing more of these good things, and then trying to, a lot of times as a city, we shoot ourselves in the foot in these own goals, basically, and we get in our own way sometimes, and egos get in the way, personalities get in the way. And I think, we just got to have thick skin and do what's best for everybody. So,
what has been your main takeaway, man, in these 3.5 years that you've been serving, in terms of what you expected compared to the reality?
So I kind of thought that you come in to the council meeting, right? Yeah, you have a plan. you have some ideas. You might give those ideas to your colleagues, and my logic and arguments would just sway them, and that they would just follow my logic, or I could win votes just with pure logic, as if I was speaking to a judge in a courtroom. Not that I'm a lawyer, but the idea that if I just had good arguments, that I would get the things done that I wanted. And quickly realized it's not just about that. You have to make sure that the other 8 people up there trust you, and believe that you're doing this for the right reason. So I think in my first year and a half, there was that learning curve of realizing it's not just about winning the argument; it's about winning the person and the heart of the people up there. Because, and you can be winning in public opinion. You can be, the people can agree with you, but if you haven't shown your colleagues that you're there for them too, they're less likely to go along with you. So I think, I've had to understand that, there's a balance of, because we can all showboat, we can all spike footballs for the public, and that can feel good, when the public's on your side. Okay. But if you've, by doing that, you're negatively hurting your colleagues up there. Well, you need 5 votes to get something done. Yeah. So there's a balance. There's a balance of getting things done for your people that voted you in, while also working well with your colleagues. Now, if we have a disagreement, fine. Let's disagree, but let's do it respectfully,
of course,
and without any with avoiding public humiliation and as much as possible. And I think in the first year and a half, I definitely had some of those moments where I was spiking the football and putting my finger in people's eyes and saying, you shouldn't be doing this. And, just understanding that, well, then when you need that 5th vote, that's not the best strategy. So, it's kind of balancing it out, standing on what you believe in, but also being a good team player.
Striking the right balance.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
What's your proudest achievement in terms of something that you got done? Like it's done. It's.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely several things, but we'll start with, the Salamander Play Zone at North Central Park. That's an accessible playground that got started under my predecessor, phase 1, and we just completed that in May. And, that's seeing all the kids out there, playing with the various senses, and just that is a really cool project. I'm glad we were able to get that done. Yeah. It is Parks and Recs month, so I'll highlight the 6 pickleball courts that we added as well at Divine Mercy. They're full all day, every day.
Oh, really? Great.
So those are very popular. We finished the Springfield extension north of Shiloh, so we've connected Shiloh to San Isidro and then now to Loop 20, and then we're about to finish District 5 and 7 right south of Shiloh. So that will be basically by the beginning of 27. Essentially, Springfield will be fully completed, the Springfield extension. So you'll be able to get from Del Mar on Springfield right next to the Target all the way up to the Loop. And then Springfield will be the longest north-south artery in Laredo, overtaking McPherson.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
So that's been good. And as far as street paving, I've said this, I'm obsessed with street paving. We have a rotation that Public Works does, but when they come around to our district, if we have any extra district priority funds pre-bond, because anything post-bond election cannot be used. So I had to dig into the funding from years past.
But the bond didn't pass.
Right.
No?
So because the bond didn't pass, streets were a $60 million streets bond proposition was part of the bond.
Yeah.
And that's the one where I'm like, I think if people just had that one, without the others, I think it would have passed, But nonetheless, there's a 3-year blackout period for certificates of obligation bonds for streets. So any money being spent now is from pre-May of 2025.
Okay.
Or tax notes, which is another way of borrowing that's not a certificate of obligation. But I have directed over these 4 years, $1 million of extra street paving, which has put us at about 320 blocks once this current round is done.
Yeah.
So I think, that $1 million could have gone towards another project. But I think one of the things that I hear the most people wanting is to fix the streets, pave the streets. So I directed that $1 million over these 4 years. And, we're able to get about an extra 100 blocks out of that. So, it would have been 200 blocks through regular public works rotations, but with that extra money, we got an extra 100, so we got over 300. So I am very proud of that, because street paving like my wife, she could care less if I paved a street. Like, we're paving San Isidro Parkway right now, and she finally was impressed. She was like, "Oh, okay, I that needed it." And I'm like, but then there are some people that it's really important, and I fall in that category. And it's a safety thing. It's we don't want the potholes damaging the cars. Of course. But there's also that pride when your neighborhood, in a house that you've lived in for 30 years and it's never been paved since you bought the house, and it's starting it brings back a sense of pride in the neighborhood.
Of course.
When so for me, and then it might encourage people to, take care of their lawn a little bit better. It might encourage people to, just uplift the neighborhood. So I think it elevates the self-esteem of the neighborhood. So I think it's very important, and it's safe for safety reasons as well. So, that's one of the big things. I've done some traffic things, like McPherson, San Isidro, we added dual left turn.
Dr. Tyler King has spent 4 years fighting for results in District 6, enhancing our parks, completing the Springfield Extension Phases 3 and 4, and paving over 300 blocks of city streets. Now he's running for re-election to build on what he's proven he can deliver. Vote to re-elect Dr. Tyler King for City Council District 6 on Election Day, Tuesday, November 3rd. Because Laredo deserves leadership that fights for results.
McPherson, Shiloh, we're decongesting that right now. So I like the boring stuff. I like the infrastructure stuff, and I like to focus on that, along with the park stuff. But then there's this is very district centric stuff, and then you expand it out to the city stuff, and I don't look at my role as only focused on my district. I do think that we have to focus on the big picture stuff. So we're very close to 2 different options on secondary water. So
what are they in terms of just
so there's the one
drilling
here
for water, or importing it?
Yeah, there's the two main options that are nearby. It's you got the Legacy Water Supply Corporation associated with Talese.
Yeah.
And that one's the closest one. And then there's one also in the neighboring county that would be piped in as well. The issue is secondary water. I mean, the city could have done secondary water source 20 years ago easily. Water sources have been there. The reason why it's not happened is because anytime you do a secondary water source compared to river surface water, it is more expensive by definition. To either drill, a well out or pipe in, as opposed to just getting it from the river, treating it, and then boom, in our pipes. So, so the idea is that we have to do this gradually, because if we just said no to river water for, permanently, that would dramatically increase water bills. So we need to, right now we're at 100% river, 0% everywhere else. So we need to gradually go 90-10. 80-20.
Got it.
And then that way, okay, sure, that 10 to 20% that we get from a secondary water source is more expensive than the Rio Grande River.
Of course, yeah.
But we're not turning it to 100% overnight. So,
of course.
So you would feel, that, whatever that is, water is going to get more expensive for the entire world in this century, right? Water is the gold of the 21st century, right? So we're all going to be fighting for water, the whole world, and we're all going to be paying more for water as a whole, as a society, because we're just less of it. And then the idea of, hey, we have ocean, right? Right here, we have the Atlantic Ocean, and we're not that far away from it. And we know in the Middle East they use desal plants quite regularly.
Yeah, we're bombing Iran's right now. And Iran's bombing the other countries' desalination plants.
But the idea is that eventually that's the long term option. And I think the counties, you have Zapata County, you have Starr County, you have Hidalgo County, Cameron County. These counties from the Rio Grande Valley to us, we need to be working with them to eventually connect their desal plants that they're starting, and connect them to us, and sharing the load. Each county sharing the load along the way.
A lot of people aren't aware of how the water situation is structured with the river, and the fact that before it reaches us, it goes to Mexico, and Mexico owes a ton of water.
Yep.
And so that's just adding to the fact that just water is drying up, upstream. How do you, and then you have the whole dynamics of the data centers coming online and using tremendous amounts of water.
Yep.
I heard that in Laredo, they're looking at maybe one data center or more.
So I know just as much as you do. I've not been briefed about any data centers for Laredo. I know that there's, just from public knowledge, we've looked up, is it Data City outside the city limits, Webb County? That's something that's being looked at. That would not be inside the city limits. I've heard rumors that there's another interest in the city of Laredo, but I don't know exactly where that would be. There's, but my gut is to be like the average person and say, no data centers for Laredo.
Yeah.
Then you also hear that some of the newer data centers could be more environmentally friendly, or might just take water one time and recycle it forever for 20 years or whatever. If that's true, I would like to trust but verify.
Yeah, of course.
I don't want to be closed-minded, but my inclination is to have a lot of resistance to any new data centers for our community.
Yeah.
Especially the fact that do they even bring jobs? From what I hear, they don't bring a lot of jobs.
Well, I mean, when they build them, but
just
then,
temporarily.
Yeah.
No, very little on permanent jobs. So like, what's in it for us, right? I think.
Well, the taxes, supposedly that they pay the taxes, but at the same time, you don't really have to be giving them much services after the initial sort of rollout.
So I'm definitely against any, and I think even Governor Abbott recently had an executive order on this, but I am absolutely against any like tax breaks for these data centers, right? I mean, they stand to make a lot of money off of us, and especially, and I'm against them using a continuous supply of our water, and the impact they could have on our grid system. So,
of course.
So those are my initial thoughts, but I also know that we're racing against, and the other argument as well, we're competing against the big boogeyman that always is China. We're racing it, but I don't want to laugh at that. I want to take that idea seriously as well. And the idea that data centers probably they are going to be a part of our, the country's life. Like U.S. will be creating data centers.
Yeah.
So the question is where, how much water will they be using? And, if someone wants to be coming here near us, like how's that going to benefit us? And if there's no benefit to us or even harm to us, why would we go out of our way to help them create these data centers? So we have been briefed absolutely nothing about any data centers for city or county.
Okay.
So I'm waiting, to kind of, if someone approaches me about that, to hear them out. But my inclination is to be quite skeptical of any new data centers for our area. So. But we'll see. I mean, if there's some magical data center option out there that just needs one thing of water and they can use it forever, I mean, and there's some good jobs that would come from it, okay, let's get it in writing, and let's get the public's input as well. And I know the natural public input is probably like mine to be resistant to that. But
there's a big backlash in it.
It's a bipartisan backlash.
It's a bipartisan backlash, but at the same time, are we throwing the baby out with the bathwater in terms of like, what if there are alternatives in terms of addressing the natural resource use, and the fact that the competition with China and everything, but at the same time, I mean, what the services that are becoming available to just anybody in terms of the tremendous computing power and the ability to do things that weren't possible before. And I mean, then you're getting into using AI to be able to solve these very difficult problems like diseases and a bunch of other stuff. So it's a tricky situation.
Yeah, because people are getting used to using AI now.
Yeah.
And then once once AI starts slowing down or glitching, intentionally slowing down the AI to, I guess, increase the support for data centers, you can see that down the road where they all just start, your chat GPT starts slowing down and they're like, see, we need these data centers. Yeah. I'm just waiting for that day to come. But, so getting people hooked to the AI and then, no, we need the AI. And obviously AI has so many more tools than just you're searching
the language models.
But it is revolution our lives already. I mean, in medicine, which I'm a part of.
Yeah.
There's radiology AI that's picking up cancers and tumors.
Well, I saw some. I don't know if it was Mark Cuban or somebody like that said, like radiology is no longer going to be a career.
Yeah, if I was, I was not smart enough to get into radiology, but so I never even considered it. But if I was, I would be pretty hesitant. Probably, if I was getting out of school right now. Yeah. I think there was
like studying coding.
Yeah. Oh, code. Yeah. Coding's. It's kind of like the mid-level folks. They're safe because they're the managers over it, and they, making sure AI is doing well. But if you're like coming fresh out of school right now, it's really terrifying, to be a beginner, an entry-level software engineer. That is really scary for those people. Because if you've been in the company for 10 years and you're a mid-level manager at a software engineering company, okay, you might be safe. Yeah. But for the entry-level roles, that's scary.
Of course. Yeah. I wanted to ask you, you brought up the bond that failed recently, and I think that the last few bonds have failed. And the one that I always think about, and I don't think you lived here yet,
2018,
was the La Posada when they wanted to build a ballroom. I thought we just missed a tremendous opportunity there.
Yeah.
In terms of doing something really nice for downtown, and the fact that they were going to pay for half of it, and it was sort of going to fall into their infrastructure. Yeah. But I think that there is this knee-jerk negative reaction to more spending, and then when you put at the forefront it's for a gym, or it's for like something that like the population at large doesn't feel that it benefits them,
right?
But I think that it's just this. I think that it's extremely difficult to pass any bond right now, the way the political dynamics are, and social media and influencers and all that.
Right.
But the thing is, like, is it a good idea for us to like not get any bonds?
Yeah, the needs are still there, and a lot of other. So cities like San Antonio pass a bond every 5 years, and they have one coming up. I want to say in 2027 next year. Houston does one every few years. Dallas does one every few years. But they have a good system of public engagement, and they have these huge committees that come up with the ideas themselves. So it's from the bottom up. And so the one you mentioned with La Posada in 2018 was more of a. It was the sales tax. It was going to be coming from sales tax, and there was this perception that it was only helping one hotel and one. I wasn't living here, but I'm explaining that's the perception I've been for the people that are against it. That's what I was told is the reason that it failed. Yeah. And then in this case, in 2025, it was the first property tax GO bond election since 1993. And like San Antonio's done one every 5 years since 2007, and that's how they fund. That's how they fund their street improvements, their bridge improvements, their park improvements. They even did an affordable housing one. And so the idea is that we just didn't do it right. And I think there were departments that saw this as an opportunity to get everything they wanted as like a money grab. And it should have been, and I hate to say this, but I just remember this day because it was right before Valentine's Day. It was like February 10th of 2025. We had the final meeting before we were going to decide whether or not to put it on the May election. Yeah. And I knew we weren't ready because we hadn't done the engagement. And the ones we did do, 5 people showed up. And so, it wasn't, and not to mention the public wasn't behind it, but also the business community wasn't behind it. Other communities, when they do these bond elections, they have huge private sector voices saying vote yes, and they raise boatloads of money to create a vote yes campaign.
Was the Spurs recent one? Was that a bond
great
election?
Example.
Okay.
Well, that one was a county bond election to do about $300 million for their part of it was for the downtown arena, because the county, the city of San Antonio, and the Spurs were going to contribute to the new arena downtown, like $1.4 billion arena. But they split it up, amongst the three of them. And then so part of that was for the county's portion towards the downtown arena in San Antonio, and then the other part was to redo their rodeo and that. So it passed, but I believe the San Antonio Spurs spent, I want to say $7 million on a campaign. On a campaign, yeah. And
I mean, there's other downtown business leaders also, right? Not just the Spurs.
Yeah, and that was a huge vote yes campaign that spent $7 million approx. And it passed 54. It passed 52-54%.
Yeah.
And that wasn't even going to be a property tax increase. That was going to come from mostly from geo bonds and sales tax. So it was a pretty clean thing, and it still barely passed. So to your point, the mood right now in voting for anything that, even if it's not raising property taxes, is a challenge for the whole community, because we have an affordability crisis, because property taxes keep going up, because home values keep going up, because things like tariffs have increased the price of groceries and cars. And and actually San Antonio now is considering going to the voters for a voter-approved tax rate election to actually increase property taxes. So good luck with that.
That should be fun. Right?
Good luck with that, San Antonio. I can't see that passing, but I mean, San Antonio has a decent track record of getting things to pass, but they're going to have to sell it to their community. And so the point is, yes, it is hard. I do think if we did like just a straight up streets bond that was only for that, I think it would have a decent success of passing here.
But do you think the population would be like, oh, well, this is different than the other ones, this actually makes sense? Or is it, hey, we want millions of dollars to spend, and the public's like, no.
Yeah.
I think that I get that mood.
Yeah. So last time the committee that kind of reviewed the bond in advance, it was a very small committee. I think we each appointed 2 people. So the total committee was like 27 people, plus staff like gave them the projects that they wanted, and it was like yes or no. Whereas it needs to be a committee, a huge, just 100, 200 person effort where the ideas come from the people, and then it's pushed up, not where we give them the projects and it's just like a yes or no.
Yeah, a wish list.
Yeah. So it needs to. If we ever do something like that again, it needs to be done different. It's just like UISD. They did a bond in like 2006.
I remember,
2007, which failed miserably. They waited about 6 years, and then in 2013, it passed. And their kids because kids were in portables. They were running out of space, and the people came up with it, and you had a successful bond. And you could argue they overbuilt because now they're closing schools, right? But that's hindsight's 2020, right?
I would assume that only people that live in the particular school district get to vote on those.
Yeah. So basically, if you live inside the UISD boundaries, So if you live in LISD, near Martin High School, you wouldn't be voting on the UISD bond election.
Do they have to be in May of off years?
No. So they have to, for a bond election, they can be in any May or November election. Any May or November election. So it could be an odd year or an even year. I made a motion to push it to November of that year when there were going to be the constitutional amendments for the Texas State Constitution. And that got voted down because there was this rush of to kind of get it done. I'm not saying it would have passed if we would have pushed it to November, but we could have made some edits, trimmed it down. You don't go from 0 to 400 million, because we haven't done one since '93. And then you're going to do a $400 million one out of nowhere. That's asking for failure.
But I mean, I remember when the municipal elections in Laredo were in May.
Oh yeah,
and now finally San Antonio changed them to November for the same reasons, in that just the participation in November is a lot higher than any election in May.
But San Antonio is going to be doing November of odd year elections. So,
It's the same thing.
They kind of latched on to Dallas because Dallas wanted to move theirs. And then the state passed this law that allowed it. And there was a deadline. So San Antonio jumped on that just for the sake of moving it. But ironically, like a November odd year election is still going to be pretty low. So San Antonio, if they really wanted to increase, I think the way we do it as far as we do November of the even year. So I'm on the ballot with the congressional campaigns and
governor.
And then the other side of the council is on the ballot even in the presidential year.
Correct.
My district and districts 1, 2, 3, and 6 and the mayor, we're up for election in the midterm years. But at least it's a even year when there's a lot of elections to vote for.
But I mean, you're talking about a 10% turnout. I don't know what the turnout was for that particular bond election.
Oh, super low.
Microscopic compared to a 40%, 50% turnout in even years during the primary or the general election. In terms of just, I mean, if nobody's going to come out and vote except a very passionate group of people.
Yeah, you could argue that it would be better to do it in an even year of November.
Yeah.
But, and I'm up for that. If we ever want to do it again, it's just a matter of getting the whole council to agree to putting that at the same time as council members are up.
Good point. Very good point.
So I'm fine with it, but the idea of doing it like that, but, and if everyone, so this council, is quite new in the sense of, all of us except for 3, are in a first term. When I came in 4 years ago, 8 out of 9 of us were in the first term. There was only one person in their second term at that time. And then in 24, 3 of my colleagues got reelected. So it's still a very new council. It's funny when you hear people say like, time for change. I'm like, we just had change.
Oh, and it's like they're like mostly young.
Yeah, we do have a pretty young council as well. I think I'm the youngest by a year or so. But there's several of us under 40. A couple in their 40s, and then a couple in their 50s, and so it's a pretty young. It's a pretty young council, I would say.
I wanted to ask you. I mean, we talked about the La Posada bond, and that was obviously to fill a need, I think, in the community, and that we don't have a big place for our civic events. I mean, we have stuff going on in an ice hockey arena. I mean, which is great. This is a great arena for concerts and hockey. But when you go to civic functions, I mean, you feel the emptiness around you, man. And
we need a true
and the echo, and it's just not befitting of a city of our size and stature, in my opinion. Are there any efforts to like address that? To like understand? Okay, yes, I mean, we are watching our spending, but at the same time, these kind of things are important, man.
Yes. So, so I've been working with Senator Zaffarini's office and our state reps, Raymond and McLaughlin, to create something called a Project Finance Zone. That's a PFZ. Only a handful of cities have it in Texas, but it's a special zone that creates a 3-mile radius around a convention center or arena. We don't have a convention center, but we do have an arena. So basically, it would create a 3-mile radius around Sames Auto Arena to where we would keep the increment of the hotel tax moving forward for the next 30 years, along with, my hope is that we also add the increment of the sales tax. And then, so we'd have both of those increments over anything that we get from hot tax, hotel, motel, or sales tax, new money over the next 30 years in that 3-mile radius. We would get to keep for a future convention center, and you can actually finance. You can finance based off that expected increment that's going to happen over the 30 years. So we could go ahead and finance it now. This is if we get it approved. So Senator Zaffarini has, as long as I get her resolution from the city, the county, and an economic impact study, which we're working on. Once I get her that, she is committed to putting that into legislation for this upcoming January 2027 legislative session. And that would allow us to finance a new convention center. And the idea is that most likely it would be an extension off of Sam's Auto Arena because the city owns most of the land around that.
Okay.
So that's the most practical and promising place for the convention center, plus the new hotels that are coming there. Plus, if you think about the Loop 20 expansion there, Jackman, Shiloh, Del Mar, all the types of restaurants and hotels that are going to be added along. Think about the frontage of Loop 20, what it's going to look like in 10 years from now. So just think about in 3 years from now, the overpasses will be completed, in those three. And then the frontage along Loop 20 is going to be full of new restaurants, hotels, retail centers. And so most of that would be within that 3 mile radius, which would bring in a lot of new hotel money and sales tax money. So need to get that passed in this upcoming legislative session, and that can help us finance new convention center. So I'm pretty excited about that.
That does sound exciting.
And that would be money that would be going to Austin for the state.
Yeah.
So it's no money out of Laredoans' pockets, basically.
Gotcha.
So it's money that Austin would normally keep, but they would allow us to keep instead of it going to the state. Yeah.
What other big projects is the city currently undertaking? I know that there is like the county's building a bridge, but
we're doing
the expansion of the
two expansions.
Bridge.
So we got
what else?
World Trade Bridge expansion. That basically doubles the lanes from I think 8 to 17 lanes and adds an additional bridge there. And then you have the Columbia expansion, which adds 2 new bridges, and you'll have essentially a doubling of the lanes of the efficiency that can go through. Then we have 2 major roads that are getting built from Mines Road to I-35. So you got Hachar-Ruthinger, which is further north up Mines Road, and then you have Vallecillo, which is closer to the city. But both of those will be direct connections to I-35, decongesting the Mines Road. And then we're also trying to get TxDOT to for the state and federal to fund essentially $1 billion project to basically turn Mines Road into a double-decker thing, so that basically you'd have the trucks come in, kind of like you see in San Antonio. They're doing those huge, just miles and miles of double-decker highways. Yeah. So essentially, Mines Road, once we can get the state to commit that funding, it would turn Mines Road, and it would basically elevate that to where you have, the cars up here and the trucks up there. That's $1 billion project. We just need to get the state to commit to funding it.
What do you think? I know that there's been since the beginning of the Trump administration with the tariffs and everything, and now saying that the TMEC, the trade agreement with Mexico and Canada, that it's no longer going to be a for sure thing going forward. What do you hear from the trade community regarding all this uncertainty, regards to investment, and regards to just the companies that set up shop here and that invest here?
You said the key word, uncertainty, right? Businesses don't like uncertainty, and that's what tariffs have created, right? Even though the majority of trade through Laredo, is protected from tariffs on the USMCA, but there's still exceptions, whether it be steel, auto. There's some exceptions that do get, but the idea is, even if that's the case, that there are some protections, the uncertainty is still there. So that's why you see all those empty warehouses out there. They've been built, millions of square feet of warehouses have been built, and you see all the for lease signs, right? That's because people have stopped, taking on new leases. And so you have 2 problems. Our local folks who've built warehouses, and they're really struggling. But then you have all the private equity from New York that's come in and built warehouses in the last few years. Yeah. And they could care less, right? They know eventually we're going to bounce back. They'll get their money back. And, this is kind of crumbs for them, right?
Yeah.
But for our local people who've
taking the leap,
risk on these warehouses, they are struggling. They did take a risk, and so the industry overbuilt warehouse space. It's not really their fault because they didn't expect the tariffs and uncertainty to happen the way it did. Although, to be fair, Trump has been talking about tariffs since the 80s, and he pretty much campaigned on it, and everyone just assumed he wouldn't do it, but but he did, So the USMCA is critical, getting that finalized. Now, Trump has thrown a lot of cold water on the USMCA lately.
Yeah.
He cannot himself just dissolve it. It is an agreement that is, I think, already it goes into 2036 or something around there. So it's not within his term to just rip it up.
Yeah.
It's just now going to be an annual review, So basically we're going to have to deal with this for the next 2-3 years of annual reviews with,
but that just gives
and that
Trump
so it's
leverage
still
to throw in drug trade,
Mm-hmm.
throw in immigration, throw in whatever.
Yeah, so it tells us that we're going to have a rocky. I mean, unless some miracle happens, if he keeps behaving the way he is, we're going to have a rocky few years until he's out of office and we have some stability on trade.
Yeah.
Because it's not sustainable. And the business community that supported him thought they could kind of talk to him and control him, and but very few people in this world can do that. He's his own guy. He does what he based on his gut. It's all based on what he's feeling that day. So so unfortunately, we are. Luckily the Supreme Court did come in and strike down a lot of the tariffs, but then he's got this other thing going on too.
Yeah.
So he loves tariffs, even though the people that supported him are being hurt by them.
Yeah.
By tariffs.
I want to ask you, one of the big controversies recently at City Hall was the raising of tolls at the bridges.
Yeah.
Was there, it's obvious that if you have a trading community that's sort of struggling because of the uncertainty, raising the bridge tolls certainly is not going to help. Was it that much of an urgency in terms of bridge tolls are, because of our position, are a big extra that other cities don't get, period. We're looking to increase the size of that pot.
So as you know, a couple years ago, we got the presidential permits for the 2 expansions for World Trade in Colombia.
Yeah.
We have there's a ticking clock. There's a 5-year time limit we have to get that constructed, and that's $230 million of investment that's needed, new investment that's needed to expand it. So, so the bridge toll increase is to fund that expansion that again the industry wants. So the industry made it very clear that for them that expansion is critical. That World Trade Bridge plus Colombia. And I know there's some that aren't as enthused about the Colombia expansion and that we may not need it right now. I think we will need it eventually.
Dr. Tyler King has spent 4 years fighting for results in District 6, enhancing our parks, completing the Springfield Extension Phases 3 and 4, and paving over 300 blocks of city streets. Now he's running for re-election to build on what he's proven he can deliver. Vote to re-elect Dr. Tyler King for City Council District 6 on Election Day, Tuesday, November 3rd. Because Laredo deserves leadership that fights for results.
It's you don't want to be in the situation where you don't take advantage of the presidential permit and then you wish you had 10 years down the road and then we're behind the 8 ball again, like a lot of times we are in Laredo. So I think we do need both expansions. We could have continued the status quo with the current bridge tolls, but we could not have funded $230 million capital project of 2 bridge expansions with the current rates. And to be clear, and I know time goes by fast for everybody, but the last time the city increased bridge tolls was 2013 for commercial traffic. So my friends who go to Nuevo Laredo. They're like, I want to pay my $3.50 like I have since 2013. It's been 13 years. I've been paying my $3.50. It's like, well, the rest of the border, it's in the $4 to $5 range. Okay. I couldn't find a single crossing that's below $4 to cross. Okay.
And this increase would
and
set it at what?
that's just for cars, right? So now it will go up in January, 50 cents per axle.
Got it.
Which on a regular car, it's 2, so it'll go up to $4.50. So it'll go up to $4.50 for a regular car crossing into Nuevo Laredo. Come January. Okay. And then, but for the big trucks, they have 5 axles, and it's going to go up, 50 cents per axle for the next 3 years.
Okay.
So that's so basically that's so 50 cents times 5. Yeah. So we're $2.50. And then that'll be for 3 years. So you're talking $7.50 per big truck at the end of this time.
Yeah.
And the last time the city increased tolls for them was 2017. Now, originally they wanted to do a 5-year plan, and they were going to start in October. We cut it. The proposed increase with staff, we cut that 50%, and we did it just for. We said we just want to get enough to fund the bridge expansion.
Got it.
It's kind of like I do follow a lot of San Antonio stuff, so I made that reference. For example, Saws in San Antonio, which is like the best water utility in Texas and one of the best in the country. They're even getting resistance from their council about a water rate increase they're wanting to do. And their rate increase is to fund capital projects for their water treatment plants and replace lines and things like that. I think if you just raise rates to cover operational costs, I don't think that's very popular. But and it's never going to be popular. Nobody wants to pass increases.
Period.
It's the last thing any council member wants to do is to be asked to raise any type of rate. That is like, it's politically, it's not popular. Never. So, but when you have critical capital projects that need to get done, you have to choose. Am I going to vote against it so that I can be more popular in my community, or am I going to vote for something that's critically needed because I know it is needed? So for me, it would have been so much. It would have been easy to vote against this.
Yeah.
Look, I voted against it. But I do think it is there to fund these expansion projects.
Yeah.
I understand there's going to be people who aren't happy about it, but I hope once we get these bridges expanded, I think the industry will see, and they've all said they understood that we needed these expansion projects.
I think that also like the way you explain it in terms of the industry it's something that they actually
I'm not to diminish it, but of a total freight cost, it's down there. It's kind of like, I understand the idea. It's the icing on the cake. Like we're adding fuel to the fire on an already hard time. I understand that. But there are some forecasts that are looking very good for the next few years for trucking, and bridge tolls are a relatively small percentage of the overall cost. But I'm not saying it's nothing. I'm just saying enough. And there are trucking companies that have started going bankrupt, that's
I've heard,
and that is I think during the COVID, there was a boom, during COVID as far as trucking goes and the nearshoring. And there might have been people that got into the business, recently. And, maybe those, I'm sure there's been some really good companies that have also been affected by this. But, I think.
Well, I've heard examples of like business people just expanding their fleet by hundreds of trucks, and then just the downturn hits, and all of a sudden you owe all these new hundreds of trucks, man.
For the loan that you took to. So
I mean, that's
it is a risky business.
Big time.
It is it's a tough business. It's a stressful business. Even like my patients who who are in trucking, they're getting calls during the page. I'm like, yeah, take it. Okay. Take your call, they're getting yelled at by someone in Iowa, so, and their truck broke down. And I grew up around trucks. My stepdad owned a trucking company.
Oh, I had no idea, man.
Out of Memphis. Yeah.
You need to talk about that more, man. It makes it more relatable.
Yeah.
Here.
No, so out of Memphis, Tennessee, Merritt Express, they had like 50, it was him and his dad. He had 52 trucks. And, I don't know if that's a mid-sized company or whatever, but it was doing very well. Yeah. They apparently, one of their drivers got into a wreck. One of the people involved in the wreck passed away. The insurance apparently didn't cover that cost. They got sued, and they went bankrupt. And then, my stepdad had to go back to... basically, he grew up around trucks, so he knew how to repair them. So he opened like an auto repair company. And not to turn this dark, but I mean, he got back problems, got addicted to opioids and painkillers, and ultimately passed away at a very young age, secondary to a seizure and all this. Yeah. The point is, the toxicity of trucking, or the riskiness of trucking, I've seen it firsthand. It's affected my family. I understand it's a tough business. Yeah. But I think we decreased the increase as much as we could to still fund these critical projects. And I mean, I've had people from the industry say, "Hey, we understand you did what you had to do." It's because at the end of the day, they really do want these bridge expansions. That is critical. Yeah, so, of course. It's tough. It's tough. But that's why we're voted in there, to make tough decisions. So,
of course. Yeah. I wanted to ask you, one of the things that I keep seeing is criticism of efforts. For example, the Plaza Theater continuation, the beautification of highway, under highway overpasses, that kind of stuff. And it's just a very, a lot of people jump in. They're like, in the same arguments, like, we have all these problems, and you want to build a theater or paint art on the highways and stuff. Yeah. Personally, I'm like, man, we need beautification. Like, it's a thing that other cities do to great effect.
Yeah. You want to be proud of the city that you're a part of. Yeah. And not to mention, we are the entry to the Americas. So when someone comes through here, they're probably more likely to stop here if it looks nice. Of course, and buy. So you forget about the economic impact of beautification. Beautification sounds just, silly and whatever. But if you, even things like art have an economic improvement impact. So, but what I would say specific about the Plaza Theater, that it's so complicated. Now, imagine if we would have already gotten it done and it was renovated, and but city government just often works way too slow, and that is not unique to Laredo. Government works too slow everywhere. Yeah. But we have to do better. We can't put up excuses. The one thing about the Plaza Theater is that money was from 2012 when the city sold LISD.
The Civic Center didn't tell anybody.
Yeah, one of the, in retrospect, I think everyone agrees that was a mistake, right? And LISD has a beautiful building now that they use we just had the Global Summit there. There was a trade summit that the city hosted there, ironically, in an LISD building. And I went really well from what I've heard. I wasn't able to attend that one, but the Plaza Theater, currently the money that's being allocated for that it's from that LISD sale, that sale for the Civic Center LISD from way back when. So that money could only be used for gathering space. We couldn't put that money into the streets. That money legally cannot go to just whatever, or
can't go to water infrastructure.
Yeah, can't go to water. Yeah. It literally legally can only go to either another convention center or a community gathering space. Now, before my time on council, the council voted to allocate that money towards the Plaza Theater, and it was going to turn itself into a civic center of sorts. Yeah. That got more expensive than anticipated, so council, we recently voted to essentially restore it to its original state. Yeah. And actually, I just saw a post in one of those Remember When in Laredo groups, and they're like, look, they're working on the Plaza Theater. And everybody was like, "Oh, that's so great," and everyone's so excited. So there is negativity, but then when you start seeing the work getting done, then people's hearts start ticking a little bit. And
Yeah,
they start saying,
nostalgia kicks in.
Maybe we can have nice things in Laredo. I think the issue that perpetuates Laredo's, negative self-esteem about itself is when we don't get things across the finish line. So it's about actually getting a project done. And so once, now that this is finally moving, it's taken too long, but once it is done and it's restored, I think it will bring some pride back, to the downtown, along with the private investment that's happening in downtown Laredo.
Yeah.
And if you think about how small our downtown is, like it's just such a small region. Like we should be able to fix it.
Man, and it's a really nice area, man.
Yeah,
Sometimes I come.
McAllen's downtown, horrible.
El Rey Theater, man.
Okay, sorry.
That's the one that always that's a good thing.
My point is we have such a competitive advantage from all these historical buildings, and the history. Laredo's a city that was founded in 1755. We always compare ourselves to McAllen.
Yeah.
I lived there for 4 years as a teacher. It was founded in 1911.
Yeah.
It's a very new city. That's one of the advantages they have. They were able to plan the city out for the future and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But their downtown is nothing to be, boastful about. I mean, their downtown's pretty ugly.
Well, they're not even close to the river.
And they're not close to the river. Like we have so much charm and competitive advantage when it comes to the potential that our downtown could be. So if we can just believe in it and all get behind it, and just for the love of God, downtown does not belong to one district. Downtown belongs to all of us. So if all 8 of us can just agree, we're going, and the city has been investing. I don't want to say we haven't, but if we can push the negativity about downtown aside and just all agree that we're going to, all of us take responsibility for it. All 9 of us up there, we're going to take responsibility for downtown. I think we'd be in a lot better space, so that we understand it's not District 8. It is 1 through 8 when it comes to downtown. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, that's the attitude that needs to be taken.
Mm-hmm.
North Central Park, man, that's your baby.
Yeah.
That's your crown jewel.
Well, it's been passed down from great people that have taken care of it. Credit to the foresight, like Jean Belmares for buying up all the land there, and then Charlie San Miguel adding the pool. Dr. Martha Martinez for beautifying it with a lot more trees. He got the Salamander Play Zone Phase 1, the ADA playground started. We just finished it. It's a beautiful place, and so I'm very lucky to be representing it. But it also means that anything that goes wrong, people have a lot of passion and pride about that park. You also want to be careful to not change it in a way that upsets people. Yeah. Because, keep the basics going well. We have the Abigail Dominguez Pond that I really want to start focusing on as well. Kind of enhancing it, making it a place that, people already go fishing there and things like that, making sure it stays full. It is filled by, it comes from the water near the Shiloh treatment plant.
Got it.
And so that's what kind of fills it. And at times, if water pressure is down, it can go dry. Or if we had beavers a couple years ago, which common issue where the beavers build their dam, and then that one time made it go completely dry. But I do want to work on that. We're also looking to potentially buy the land on the west side of it that connects to McPherson, and have like a second entrance.
Oh, cool.
From the Marshall Court Cove there, closer to Golondrina. So you have like a second entrance and a little rest area, restrooms, and parking. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I wanted to ask you about the bike trails. And in terms of just, I see it in Austin a lot. The just explosion of e-bikes, and the trail system that Austin has is just insanely awesome in terms of you could get anywhere.
Yeah, it's great
in the city with on a bike. I love the Shiloh bike trails. I mean, I've talked to you about it. It's a great place, I think. Are there any ideas to just incorporate I know that I think you talked to me about it once, like connecting the trails to the park, to the to other trails. Like, what's your vision regarding that kind of thing?
Yeah, so Shiloh Trails, eventually the idea is to basically where that is North Central Park West, basically, to connect it underneath McPherson. So buying this piece of land on the east side of McPherson that connects to the North Central Park is stage one.
Yeah.
Then the more expensive one is dredging it under McPherson, because right now it's like at 6 feet, so to get under McPherson to the Shiloh Trail. So that's an expense that's still pending. That's going to be probably a solid waste project. But then I do want to point out that we have a $770,000 project for the Shiloh Trails that is in design and is going to break ground in October. We have Nature Trails from North Carolina. They won the contract, and they're coming down. They've already come down multiple times and met with the cycling community, parks, engineering, to kind of understand what we need. And so that's going to enhance the Shiloh Hike and Bike Trails. That came from $500,000 of District 6 priority funds. And I got to give credit to my colleague, Councilmember Alyssa Figueroa. She committed $270,000 of her priority funds for this project. That's how much she believes in the biking trails and because I mean that money is gonna.
Well, I mean, ultimately, people from her district will go right up here.
Yeah. Well, and the idea is it's people from all over come to North Central Park, also the trails, I hope. And we want to make it where more people come. There's also going to be a walking trail that connects from the new Springfield Road into the back of the Shiloh Trail so that families can, take their kids in there, bike, and it's good shade back there with strollers, biking. And so that's through Texas Parks and Wildlife grant as well. So those two projects are ongoing at the same time. So hopefully by the end of this year, early 27, it's all done. And Shiloh bike trails are set up for success. Now to your question about throughout, like on the regular streets, right? You mean like the cyclists being able to get around?
Yeah, I mean a combination of bike lanes. I know that has been a controversial topic. It's not the same kind of environment or culture, but just like they connect, like a bike trail running parallel, like we'll connect to one running
there's lots
north,
of streets
south.
There's lots of streets in Laredo that have 2 lanes going one way, 2 lanes going the other way, and then like a big median in the middle.
Yeah,
you could turn that into a 1 lane and then have a bike lane easily. That also creates a road diet, basically. A road diet, because when you're driving, if the paint is painted much more narrowly, you're more likely to be focused and slow down, basically.
Yeah, okay.
But if you have a huge wide open lane, you're more likely to speed. It's just, that is a fact, that is science, that is human nature, that has been studied. So, that's something that we need to look at for the whole city, finding, and where it makes sense. I mean, I get it. In some parts of the community where there's a bunch of 18-wheelers, okay, maybe it doesn't make sense. Yeah. But even like in Country Club Drive.
Yeah, Plantation.
We do have a bike lane for most of it, but then once you get past the Country Club, it goes into the 2 lanes and 2 lanes, and it's like, we can change that. Like we should be able to change that. Now, I'll be honest, traffic gives us a lot of pushback. And they come up with their reasons. I won't call them excuses. But sometimes it feels that way, that, where you're trying to fight with a technocrat, and it's like, okay. And you don't want to, you could bring it to council and overrule them. But then, if you make a mistake that ends up leading to a crash or a wreck or a death, I mean, that's heavy. It's heavy, so you don't want to argue. Like, so it's hard when you have an expert in the field pushing back on you, but in your heart, there might be another expert out there that disagrees with this expert. So, how do we, come? So it's a little, when you have people that are not open to the change, so that's why we have to, again, the culture issue. And also look at San Isidro Parkway, where in between, that splits up North Central Park right in front of Gold's Gym. You have a elevated crosswalk for people. We know that people do not respect the crossers, and they just kind of keep going. And so that's also like an education thing, where in roundabouts. In Laredo, we only have a few roundabouts, so teaching people how to properly drive in a roundabout, is so a lot of it does boil down to like public awareness, education, things like that. But yeah, I definitely, I was in Austin recently for a doctor's visit myself, and seeing all the bike lanes and the road diets. Basically the narrow lanes. It's an art. There's lots of Instagram pages where you can go and you can see the different types of ways to design streets, smart streets, safe streets. We could get a lot more creative with the way that we design our streets and paint our striping, for sure. But it would have to be coincided with a massive education campaign.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you, you're well known for being very responsive in terms of when the constituents need something of you. How is that structured? How does your response operation work? I know that two councilmen share an assistant or something like that, and like how did you set it up? I know that you place a big emphasis on that.
So I do give out my cell phone pretty aggressively, and that's just texting turns out to be the easiest way. If I try to consolidate everything into, if someone messages me on Facebook, Instagram, Nextdoor app, I try to consolidate it into my phone so that it's like we're texting, and I keep one of the best settings about the iPhone is when you can, let's say I got 40 unread text messages, right? But I've responded to some, not the others, and you're like, I can't remember which one. Well, you can click the view unread only section. Okay. So, it's like it only shows the ones that I haven't read yet, and that kind of helps me be efficient. My assistant, Esmeralda, she and I share, Councilmember Alyssa Seguro and I share her as an assistant. So that's when people say we only get half of an assistant. That's what they mean. Yeah. If you look at the county, they have a big staff. Every county commissioner has a staff, and that's because they're also administrators. They're not just policymakers. They don't get to change like city law and ordinances the way we do, and they're essentially a subsection of the state. And they're administrators of their they administer and manage like community centers and things like that. We are not administrators. We are more policymakers. They do make policy as well, pass the budget and everything. So it's just very different. People might think that I have an office downtown. I don't have an office downtown. Even my assistant that we share, she doesn't have an office. She has a desk in a big open room, and so it is not a one-man show. I guess it's a 1.5-man show in a way, 1.5 human show. But I do pride myself on getting back to people. And I think probably the best way to get in touch with me on a minor issue is probably Facebook message. I'm pretty good about getting back that way. But yeah, I just take it very seriously. I think people our districts are small enough that I think you should be able to directly communicate with your council member. Yeah.
It slipped my mind. I had a question ready to go. What is the majority of calls? Like, is it a specific thing, and do you get like specific people that are just
these? Oh yeah, I mean, you always have a few that are constant, but I would say lately in the last 6 months, the number one call by a mile would be the feral hog situation. So we have a feral hog.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, we have a feral
hog.
Like
by a mile, like
easily.
People are like, there's hogs that are messing up my stuff.
Exactly. Especially the lawns, right?
Yeah.
And people spend thousands of dollars to redo their lawn, and then the hogs come back the very next day, and then they destroy it again.
That's fascinating. I had no idea that was even a thing.
It's a big problem, and I understand there are people that say we're invading their space, but if you think about it, feral hogs are actually not native to this area. They were brought here by the Spaniards, right? So the idea is that they're not native. Okay. Yeah. They are, and they're classified by state law as essentially like livestock. They're not protected. Javelinas are a different story. They are protected, but the hogs are not. So, and they repopulate 3 times a year. the female hogs.
That's interesting.
You know,
I had no idea.
every 4 months they're having more babies. You know, so so it's gotten out of control, and so there is a plan coming up to us, July 27th meeting. I think health department's going to present it to us as an option, and it will be a upfront cost. Where we pay.
Helicopters.
They're going to propose a 5-year plan, basically. And each year, the first year will be the most expensive, and then it gradually gets cheaper as the years goes on. But we're essentially going to have to hire. I hope my colleagues will support it, but we're going to have to hire an outside professional hog trapping company.
I've been at a hog, like helicopters, man, and like people shooting them.
Well, they'll have infrared. They'll have these big, huge cages that can trap a family. And I understand. I know there's some people out there are going to think I'm
animal rights,
inhumane and whatnot. But at the end of the day, I do believe they're not just a nuisance in the sense of property. They are also a public safety risk. Hogs, if you corner them, they will attack you. Yeah. They can kill. I do worry about that day, when a child is hurt by one.
Dr. Tyler King has spent 4 years fighting for results in District 6, enhancing our parks, completing the Springfield Extension Phases 3 and 4, and paving over 300 blocks of city streets. Now he's running for re-election to build on what he's proven he can deliver. Vote to re-elect Dr. Tyler King for City Council District 6 on Election Day, Tuesday, November 3rd. Because Laredo deserves leadership that fights for results.
So it's again, and I like to differentiate the javelinas and the hogs. I'm just talking about the hogs here. Javelinas pretty much stay out of trouble and are generally relatively harmless, other than potential infectious disease issues. And of course, we have the New World screwworm issue. To consider as well, but which might open
diarrhea lettuce now.
Like everything. Yeah. But anyway, the hogs.
Funny what happens when you got all these agencies that are meant to protect us from those kind of things.
You take things for granted when you're not dealing with it. Think about the polio vaccine, for example. I think about things that when they've done their job and you don't deal with it, people can take it for granted. And then once it's gone and things are coming back, measles, things like that, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, it is. So important.
That's what that agency that the Doge cut did.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, man, final sort of topic. We obviously live in a crazy time technology-wise. Here in Laredo and everywhere else, the news that reports upon what you guys do has change, in that it's no longer just the morning paper and the evening news. Right. Now you have a phalanx of influencers and citizen journalists, and it gets pretty crazy. And ultimately, like the standards that traditional media have to use are not used in this case, and it can get pretty chaotic and misleading, and I know that you've had issues.
Can
you talk to us about that?
My biggest issue, I'm all for citizen journalists, First Amendment. I want to promote all that. The issue becomes what happens when a citizen journalist is paid off record, or
not advertising.
And to set a narrative, right? And so that's where I have an issue. I think any payments whatsoever to a citizen journalist should be subject to campaign finance reports. The issue is if someone says, oh, well, my brother, or if someone's uncle or friend gave the money, then the candidate can say, oh, I didn't know. I didn't know that citizen journalist, social media influencer was given money. And so then they don't have to put it on their campaign finance report. And then, so I do my if you pay money to advertise on KGNS, it is publicly reported. You can see where that money is going to. Plus, there's the disclaimers, sponsored by.
Correct.
So,
which is the law.
Yeah, that's the law.
Yeah.
So there needs to be regulation over, because Facebook has done a good job of getting very strict about political advertising.
Yeah.
Like if I want to boost a post, I have to go through several processes to get that disclaimer
to verify
that my campaign is real and it's not an agent of Russia and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But this is the kind of under the table advertising. When someone develops a mass following, you pay them money and then they not just run an ad for you, but they set an entire city narrative for you. And so
it's like a political advertisement disguised as news.
Yes.
Pretty much.
Yeah. It's really dangerous because then you're just, it's mass manipulation, right? I do think people are smart enough to see through it eventually. I think it will expose itself. I think you even saw it a little bit in this Webb County judge race that happened. Like you could see where it got exposed a little bit, where the money's coming from. It's very easy to see just by the coverage. Yeah, I would like to think it's easy to see.
Well, yeah, I mean,
but there are definitely people not seeing it yet.
Correct.
I think it will eventually get better, but yeah, that's something that's happened. It's not just in Laredo. I mean, each city has its own version of this, but
I agree.
In general, like as a society, we're going to have to be able to find a way to figure out what's true and what's not. And so it's going to be, we're in a mass like experiment. Yeah. So I'm hoping that 100 years from now, we can look back at this time and be like, wow, misinformation was really a big problem. Good thing we figured out how to verify what's real and what's not. Because right now in politics these days, we're fighting over facts. Like we're fighting over what facts are the right facts.
Correct.
Well,
we live in alternate realities.
Mm-hmm. And we're all in our silos, getting your media from your favorite place that feeds you the media that you want and
confirms your biases and prejudices and et cetera.
Yeah. So we haven't had that like national federal legislation that basically, prevents these social media companies and bad actors from performing mass manipulation. And there's an addiction to our phones and addiction to the algorithm, and its job is to keep you on your phone. So
keep you enraged.
So we all have to find a way to put the phone aside and get out there and like touch grass and just be human again. Because I think we're losing our humanity. I really do. I think people are forgetting the human-to-human interaction and what it means. And it's kind of like the Robert Putnam Bowling Alone book,
that's a very good
from early 2000s, right? And he saw it he was ahead of the game, and realizing that hey, church affiliations going down,
Rotary clubs,
bowling leagues going
memberships,
down, so that all the
going
things
to the mall,
So a lot of things are happening that are pushing us to stay at home and alone. And,
glued to our screens.
Yeah. So we have to fight back and, resist that. So,
Tyler, given 4 more years, what do you propose to do? Give me your campaign pitch.
Number 1 is get the rec center. Okay. For our district, I'm the 4th council member who's, attempted to get the rec center.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's hard because this part of this community, this part of the city, there's not a lot of land available. We do have some options now with the expansion of a new neighborhood called Harmony Hills. We're getting about almost 10 acres of city park land that could be an option. Yeah. There's some other people interested in donating land, but that's it comes consistently on the community needs. Number 1 that people want for this area is a rec center. Yeah. We're the only district without a rec center. We're the only district without an indoor public gathering space. We don't have a library. And it's the idea, it's the rich side of town, so they don't need it. But
that's a stupid argument because
Yeah.
They're like, well, you have a country club. They're like, I don't think you understand the demographics of the district.
Yeah. That's a very small section of people.
Yeah, exactly.
Not to mention people from other districts come there and are members there.
Yeah.
And that doesn't count. That's obviously ridiculous. So,
and it's extremely expensive. Like, it's expensive to buy in.
Oh yeah. No, it's that's a non-starter, right?
Yeah.
So, but there's not a community center, a library, or a rec center. Nothing indoors. I understand we have a beautiful North Central Park. We're very lucky in that sense. Yeah. But north of Del Mar, east of I-35, there is not a single indoor community gathering space. Mm-hmm. So for me, the rec center can solve all of that. We can have a library in there like Fasken has.
Yeah.
We can have. We don't have to make it like other rec centers, like because sometimes there's an issue with usage. We can have some office space. We can lease it out to some people that want to do some community nonprofit work in there. Yeah. We can work with the Boys and Girls Club. We can, it can be a new model. I understand they're expensive to build, but also more importantly, expensive to maintain. Yeah. We can do some public-private partnerships, but this area needs a rec center so bad. Yeah. So basically, I've focused on some of the low-hanging fruit in my first term, some of the things that I wanted to get results fast. I wanted to, do the things that were within my control, like streets, pickleball courts, finishing this other thing, the salamander play zone. But the big elephant, the big gorilla, whatever animal you want to use that's hanging over me is finishing that rec center. So yeah. I'm going to basically put all I can into getting it done. And not that I haven't, we're currently undergoing an indoor recreation feasibility study.
Got it.
So that will tell us what I think I already know, which is we need one, yeah. Right? And then it'll say where it should go and, what it should be. But it's not just for my district. It'll also tell us how we can enhance our current indoor recreation options that we have in other parts. So it's not just let's get a District 6 rec center. How can we improve the other rec centers and community gathering spaces? So that is, I'm literally waiting for them to finish that report. My hope is they finish it by the first week of August because I need before we finalize the budget, so that I can make a case to fund at least, I'm calling it a down payment into some seed money to start the design process and like the land allocation, finding the land. And so that's, I'm hoping this budget cycle, it can at least get a little something in there to get the process started so that we don't lose any momentum with that. So that's going to be, and even if we don't get it built by the end of the term, I want to have a groundbreaking before I'm finished with the term for the District 6's rec center. So that's going to be, my guiding star from our district standpoint. Of course, trying to, do all the other things that we need to do, adding some sidewalks and adding some other park amenities and, getting more streets paved. But the rec center needs to get at least started and shovels in the ground in this upcoming term.
Got it.
Because people in this area want it, and I believe they deserve it. And then addressing the hog issue that I mentioned, I want the 5-year plan to address it, and then we work on a more sustainable thing. I think we should work with the state on that as well to give us some more tools on how to manage these hogs. Yeah. And then finish the water conversation as it relates to secondary water. But I divide water into 2 topics: quantity and quality. Quantity meaning secondary water sources, quality meaning the infrastructure. Yeah. We've replaced, we've put about $40 to $50 million into water line replacements over the last 2 years, using pipe bursting, which ends up, the issue with that is the streets don't look so great afterwards, so we're having to do and restore the streets. So we have to, but anyway, we have to find more money, either whether it be from the state, from their grant programs, their low interest loan programs. But we're talking estimates are close to $1 billion. And actually, I just saw an article that was sent to me in the American Journal of. It was the title of the article was "America's Water Infrastructure Crisis Has Arrived." So we are not alone in the aging water infrastructure problem. So I do think eventually we're going to need to do what we can on our side, but there needs to be a national, a federal law that funds this aging infrastructure crisis that's coming, and have a plan to keep it sustainable afterwards, because it's a lot of cities, think of it in like the post-World War II boom, all the cities that exploded and grew, and now those pipes are 70 years old throughout the whole country. And so it's something we're going to have to work on as a city, but also there's going to need to be some state and federal partnership. The state just added a $20 billion proposal that was voted on by the people, $1 billion a year for the next 20 years. Yeah. That's a drop in the bucket for what's needed for Texas. They just updated the estimate on what's needed for Texas water infrastructure, $160 billion. Jeez, and we've committed $20 billion for over 20 years. So clearly we've got to increase what we do locally, but state and federal also need to step up as well. But yeah, that's kind of the big picture things I want to focus on and then of course you never know what crisis is going to come your way. I'm sure when other people were running for election in 2018, and they didn't know they were going to be dealing with a COVID pandemic in 2020, 2 years later. So obviously you never know what crisis is going to come to you. But I'm hoping people trust me that I'm there, I'm transparent, I'm accountable, I'm out there. And the other thing is, I think the community knows I don't need this job. This is not something I need. If I can choose not to do this and be perfectly happy with a thriving medical practice. But I mean, politics is a passion of mine. I've my degree's in political science, and I just studied pre-med as well. But I'm a policy and politics junkie. All the podcasts I listen to. So that's what gets my blood flowing every day. I enjoy the work. It's fun, and solving problems for people is really rewarding. And I think people at the end of the day, what they're grateful for is someone who picks up the phone, returns the call, relays their message, get problem solved for them. And that's really all they want. I don't think they expect me to be perfect. I don't think they expect me to solve every problem, but they do expect me to be responsive, to do my best, and to be honest with them when I can't do something for them. So that's what I'm going to keep trying to do if I get reelected. So,
Tyler, thank you, man. I wanted to ask you one final question, man. You're extremely busy now, campaigning, being a council member, your practice, your family, man. Like, what do you like to do to just relax, to kick back in those few minutes that you get a day just to do what you want to do, what you enjoy? What is it?
Well, if I could fix my hip, I would like to play some golf. Okay. But I'm having some hip issues.
You're addressing that.
But I'm getting that. Maybe another surgery, unfortunately. But after the election, after the campaign, so golf it's how I connect with my grandfather. Oh. He passed away in my second year of med school. He got to put the white coat on me. He was a urologist, but he did at least make it to my white coat ceremony before he passed away. And he taught me to play golf when I was like 7 years old. So golf is a way of connecting with him. And my daughter now starting to like it. So
cool.
So, and she never got to meet him. So it's a way of connecting, you know, in that way. And then traveling, I haven't been able to travel as much lately, with kids, with the jobs, but yeah, I want to, eventually start traveling. My wife and I did, we did get to go to Italy for our 10-year wedding anniversary. Oh, very nice. That was my first time over there, and that was really cool. Probably gained a few pounds, but a
lot of spaghetti,
a lot of pasta. But yeah, so but as far as just routine hobbies, I don't have I can't make enough time for the hobbies, just because any free time I have, it's spent with family. Of course. And my wife, what she's really good about is keeping me grounded and, kind of slapping me around and saying, family time, family comes first. Yeah. Because there's a lot of things pulling me in different directions. But she does keep me grounded to make sure that I'm, keep family first, because that's the most important thing. My legacy is going to be my two daughters, right? And what they do, so. But yeah, so that's cool. I wish I could play golf more, but yeah.
Well, Tyler, thank you so much. I think this was a great conversation. Anything else that you want to add before we log off?
No, I guess, now that the campaign's about to get started, I guess I'll just say go to tylerkinglaredo.com and, learn more about the campaign. And if you want to join, you want to volunteer, you want a yard sign, there's links there to request yard signs and options to volunteer. And if you have anything, just reach out, and I'm happy to help. So
great. Well, thank you so much, Councilman. That does it for this episode of Frontera Radio. Thank you for tuning in. May God bless you, and may you have a good night.